To get started on this exercise, you should have downloaded the Lesson 2 folder from the class page. To get started, let's go ahead and launch Adobe Illustrator, and we can go up to File and down to Open, and let's locate that Lesson 2 folder. Inside the Lesson 2 folder, choose the Start AI and say Open. And before we do anything else, let's go up to File and do Save As. And if you're prompted, make sure you're saving everything to your computer. I'm going to say don't show this again because we always want to save it to our computer. And let's rename our file Lesson 2 Game Night. And make sure you put your name on it as well. We're going to keep it as an Adobe Illustrator file and hit Save. When prompted with the options, you can simply ignore them by saying OK as well. Finally, make sure your workspace is set to the Essentials workspace. You can go up to Window, down to Workspace, make sure Essentials is selected, and if things have been moved around, you can reset it if necessary. When working in Illustrator, whether you're making your own artwork or working with somebody else's, knowing how to select the objects that you create is essential. Since we're working with vector graphics and having to deal with all of the points and lines that make up those individual objects, there's two different selection tools that we're going to be working with. The black arrow, also known as the regular selection tool, is usually at the top of your toolbox, and beside it or underneath it is the direct selection tool. Both of these allow you to select different types of vector artwork, but both of them work a little bit differently. Let's go down to the very bottom of our document, and you can see the different artboards that we're working on by clicking here, and let's choose the 3 pieces artboard. If it doesn't center it up, you can go up to View and make sure to fit artboard in window. That way we can see everything. The first selection tool we're going to use is the black arrow. With the black arrow, this allows you to select entire objects. So for instance, if I hover over an object, you can see that it kind of highlights it with a blue edge. And if I go to the edge of that, you can see how it's got a path or it notices the anchor points. Plus, it could give you some other information like X and Y locations. If you select an object, you get a bounding box around it. Now this bounding box gives you the ability to do things like rotate and resize, just like you would do in any of the other Adobe software. If you ever want to deselect something, you can click away from it and that'll deselect it. And if you want to move something, the black arrow is usually the best one to use to move things into place. So we can choose the small circle and move it into here. To select 2 different objects, you can hold down the Shift key and click on both the small and the large one, and now both of them are selected and can be moved into place like this. Notice that as I move, you got some little magenta lines that show up. These are our little helper guidelines, smart guides, that let you easily and quickly align things right where they need to go. The other tool that we can use is the direct selection tool or the white arrow tool. Now this tool works very similar to the selection tool. If you click on the inside of any object, the entire object is selected, but notice that you don't have a bounding box. The direct selection tool is meant to select individual points. This way, if I wanted to click on one point, like this one over here, you can hover over it until it says anchor, and then you can click once, and then now when I move away, you can see how these are not filled in, but this one is filled in. Now with it selected, I can do things like move that individual point until it's moved around where I want it to be. If I need to select any other points, this allows me to do that, or even if I wanted to select an entire path and move a path, I can do that as well too. Now at any time, you can do Command Z to undo what you've done, and if you want to deselect something, you can always go up to Select and Deselect. Another way to make a selection is by using a marquee. If with your black arrow tool, if you click and drag over multiple objects, anything that touches that marquee is now selected, and now you can move it into place. You can also do a marquee with your direct selection tool. So with the white arrow selected, this time if we only want to select this bottom portion, we're going to click and drag over it. Notice that I started outside and I ended outside. Now with those selected, you could click on it or you can use your arrow keys to nudge it up slightly. Finally, we can swap back over to our selection tool by clicking the V. Click on here and let's drag it down till it's nice and centered visually inside of that area. I do want to emphasize some of the keyboard shortcuts. Notice with this one, the keyboard shortcut is V, and with the direct selection tool, see if I can get it to come up, the keyboard shortcut is A. So V and A are two good keyboard shortcuts to be able to know whenever you're working with these two tools. We'll zoom back out. Let's navigate now back to the first artboard. Another place you can go to find your artboards is in your Properties panel. Choosing the artboard, let's go to artboard number 1. Again, we want to make sure we can see everything because we want to be able to make some edits to this. Now, we don't want to be able to change the background just yet. We've got a lot of different little things that are stacked on top of each other. So sometimes it's helpful to lock down certain things so that you don't accidentally select them and you're able to select other stuff. For instance, I want to be able to move these little lines that are created. So with my black arrow selection tool, I'm going to click once on the black background. Then I'm going to go up to Object, down to Lock, and choose Selection. Now I'm no longer able to lock or to make edits to that black background. If I wanted to lock individual objects, I can use my black arrow to select, say, this star, then hold down the Shift key and select the other star. With both of them selected, one more time, go up to Object, Lock, and choose Selection. Now both of those are not selected. This leaves me free to be able to click and drag a marquee over all of these lines, being careful not to touch the actual little game board, and then I can use my selection tool to move it downward, clicking on it and move it down to the bottom edge. I'm going to do Command 0 to back out, and then click anywhere off to the side to deselect. Now if I do want to make a change to the background, let's say change its color, I need to unlock it. We can go up to Object and choose Unlock All. This will unlock everything. Let's go up to Select and deselect everything. One more time, with your black arrow tool, click once on the black rectangle in the background, and inside of your Properties panel, locate the Fill Colors. With this, we can click on it and we can change it to the new color that's at the very back. So this new gradient is now what it's changed to. With it still selected, we can go up to Object, and one more time, let's lock down our selection. Once again, let's go back to our artboards and go back to artboard number 3. At the bottom of this is a series of little dots. Another way you can quickly select like objects is by choosing one of the objects. In this case, this object is made up of a square that has a white fill and a black outline. If I wanted to select everything that has a white fill and a black outline, we can go up to Select, the Same. In this case, we're going to choose Fill and Stroke. Now, everything that has the same fill and stroke properties is all selected. Later on, if I wanted to go back and reselect all of these, I can go up to Select, and I can save this selection. Right now, we'll call this our dots, and say OK. With that selected, I can go up to Select, and anytime I can choose dots, and they'll automatically be selected. Let's go back to postcard number 1. This time, let's select one of the stars, and with it selected, let's go up to Select, the Same. In this case, let's choose Appearance. Appearance chooses everything that's got the same fill and stroke, as well as any other properties that may be selected to it. So in this case, all of those stars were created from the same looking type of design. With that selected, the other thing you can do is to hide objects. So under Object, choose Hide, and then choose Selection. Those aren't deleted, they're simply turned off their visibility so that they're out of the way. Another way to quickly select groups of objects is by viewing them in outline mode. By default, Adobe Illustrator renders all of the fill and stroke colors that are necessary to view what your artwork would look like if it was actually printed or saved. However, if we want to view the vector outlines, go to View and choose Outline. From here, you can see only the outline paths. With our selection tool, let's click and drag over the Arcade Knight Company Arcade, and use your arrow keys to nudge that up by just a little bit as well too. Also, to make things a little bit easier to select, let's group those together. If you don't see your contextual taskbar, you can go up to Window and turn on Contextual Taskbar. And then from here, we can make a group out of your selection. Now, if we deselect it, or with one click, we can reselect the entire thing. One more time, let's go back up to View and choose Preview, and that'll turn it back on the way the Lord intended. One more again, let's go back over to our third artboard. And remember the little dots that we have down here? Let's line those up. We'll go up to Select and choose our dots. With all of them selected, we want them to be lined up nice and straight across the way. Over in your Properties panel, locate the Align selection, and we'll click on the second to last one for vertical alignment. Now that puts everything nice and proper and straight. Now all of these were aligned nicely with each other based on just their selection. However, they're not evenly distributed between each other. We want them to be nice and evenly spaced out. So one more time, if they're not selected, let's select your dots. Inside of the Alignment panel, if you'll click on the little three dots, this will open up more options, and we'll click on this one to evenly distribute each of those. Now that they're evenly distributed, they all have the same distance between each other. With it still selected, let's group these together. Another way we can align things is based on the position of individual objects. One more time, going over to our Properties panel, once this is deselected, let's go back to Artboard number 1, and let's zoom in to see the little dots down here. Notice that we have two different controls. We have one on the left and one on the right. And we also have a little pink area, matte area down at the bottom. We want to align these controls to be centered inside of this area. So clicking on the matte first, hold down Shift and click on each of the little button controls. We'll select all three of those object groups. Next, let's go over to our Align panel, and in the options, make sure to choose Align to a Key Object. When you do this, one of your objects, usually the last one selected, will light up. Now, we want to click on our little matte and have it be our key object. Now, when we go to align them, and we'll align them vertical center, all of those will be dragged down and be lined up nicely in the middle of that single object, and that object won't move at all. So a key object allows you to do that. Now, this type of alignment also applies to individual anchor points. If we go over to our Properties panel one more time, this time let's go to the second artboard. We want to be able to not have a little dash going along this edge. Instead, we want to have it nice and straight and vertical. Choosing your white arrow selection tool, you can select the individual entire object by clicking on it, then carefully click on just the top anchor point up here. With it selected, we can go down to the bottom, hold down the Shift key, and click on the bottom anchor point. Now both of those anchor points are selected. If we want to be able to align them, one more time, go over to your Align panel, and we want to open up and align these to the right side. Notice now both of those are nice and aligned. If we want to shift this entire thing over so that it's aligned to the left edge of this artboard, one more time, select your entire object by clicking on the inside of it, go to your Align panel, make sure Align to Artboard is selected, and then choose Horizontal to the left. All right, one more time, let's go back over to our third artboard with all the pieces. Use your black arrow selection tool. Let's click and drag over the joystick, and we'll group that together by clicking on Group here. Another place you can go to group something, let's select our level up here, is to go to Object and to group it up here. Now that they're both grouped, you can see that they'll be moved around as if they're one solid piece. Now, just because they're a one solid grouped piece doesn't mean that we can't go back and individually edit certain parts. For instance, if I wanted to only change the color of this joystick, this little stick in the middle, I can double click on it. This will go into what's known as isolation mode. Notice at the very top, it's selected just that individual group. Now I can go in and select individual parts as if they are ungrouped. With the middle of our stick selected, let's open up our Properties panel from here and change the color to be something else. I'm just going to choose a lighter gray. Once I'm finished, I can click the little arrow to back out to layer 1 and then finally back out to my normal artwork. From here, let's place this into our design. I'm going to zoom all the way back out so I can view all of our artboards. The other thing you can do is go to Window and choose Fit All in Window. Let's drag our little joystick dude right here at the very bottom. Notice that when you do that, he's going to be behind the little panel, but that's okay. We're going to fix that in just a second. Next, let's go back over to our little monster that's eating our things. In addition to creating single groups, you can also nest groups within each other. So notice that both of those are two different groups. We can hold down the Shift key and select both of the groups, and we can create a larger group from those. So now both of those are treated the same. One more time, if we wanted to change the color of it, we can double-click on our group, and then double-click again and select this group until finally we can choose and change just the color of that one object. From here, let's change the color to be something like a lighter blue. I'm going to choose this one. There we go. And again, to get out, you can either hit the arrows to back out, or you can double-click anywhere outside of the area, and that will go back to the normal artboard area. Let's zoom back out by going to View and Fit All in Window. We'll place our little monster dude right here in the middle of our arcade game night. And while we're here, let's put the Level Up text box up here in the top right-hand corner of our postcard. One more time, let's go back to our first artboard. We need to bring this joystick forward. So with your black arrow selection tool, click on the joystick. Let's go over to our Properties panel, and where it says Arrange, tell it to bring to the front. Now it's in front. Let's also align the mat that's behind it by clicking on the little pink mat, going over to our line. Let's make sure it's aligned nice and centered inside of our artboard. Since we're almost done, last thing we need to do is to turn our stars back on. Going back up to Object, let's tell it to Show All, so everything that was hidden is now visible. With this done, we're finished with our design. Let's go up to File one last time and save it, and you'll turn in this Game Night Adobe Illustrator file to the class page.